Hey everyone, welcome back to the Art2Life Podcast. I'm sitting across from Cherie, Healey, my partner, my love, and the founder of Siren. Siren is a movement of women here to change the world. So this episode, we're talking about leadership, and I know that might feel a little outside the parameters of what we normally talk about on this podcast, but it's actually quite related. So I want to just take you back a little to about a year ago when I was actually working with Cherie on Art2Life, and I was kind of getting more clear about the direction of Art2Life and what it was here to do and why it was created in the first place. And I think for all of you, you know, when you make something, whether it's painting, having clarity about where you're going and what's the purpose of it is really powerful. So Cherie was invaluable in that process. And the short of it was that the purpose of Art2Life and the driving kind of force for me was about impact and about change in the world and how art can be used to empower people and allow them to become more self-expressed and ultimately change things for the better in the world. And it starts with that creative expression. And for me, I've done that through art. And so that was sort of the backstory. And anyway, so Cherie, that was an amazing time. And I want to thank you for helping me kind of articulate that. And I know this is what you do when you work with leaders, you work with impact-driven visionaries, creatives. So share with us, I mean, I know why this worked for me, but why, the clarity of the vision, because it'll come back around to leadership. But
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me again. It's so good to be here with you. I think that it's very important for us to, in our lives, know who we are. At the end of the day, who am I and what am I here to do? And we can only truly know ourselves through the reflection of another. You and I talk about this a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
And I feel like I have that ability to see people and what they're here to be and do at such a pure level.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met you, I saw this man who was here to really change the world and empower others, give them back to themselves, show them what's possible in ways that you named the company Art2Life for a reason. And there was so much focus on bringing people into their art. And there's this big conversation emerging about, and now what? You unleash people to be able to be wildly self-expressed and make their art and contribute more beauty into the world and know themselves through their art. And then what does that do to their lives? I just watched everyone through CVP and the Academy, and as I've been on these workshops, retreats with you, be blasted open in every area of life.
Yes, and this was what drew me into this creativity coaching, because yes, I can teach people how to mix colors and paint, and that was interesting, but the magic and the big shifts for people was why I added that life part. But having your help in really naming it and really leaning into it and learning about that was galvanizing, was really, really, really helpful, because it's what we're doing that's so different, that's so exciting.
Well, I think everybody who knows you, we had people come to visit us at the show recently that you did
the exhibition, right.
Park City, and people who'd come far and wide said, Nick's different, Nick's more alive, Nick feels more joyful, Nick feels, oh my God, so different. And I think this is the impact of standing in your truth fully, being the leader that you are here to be. You lead all these beautiful souls back to themselves. You are showing them, shining a light on their own art. And when we did this work, I could see, you know, the difference from then till now in the way that you hold yourself, in the way that you walk, in the way that you teach. Because you said, my vision, and I love this, your vision for the world, that you envision a world where everyone is empowered to make the world a better place, and you believe that power is through art.
And that it's possible. It's about possibility. And I mean, if it worked for me, it can work for, and this, in a way, you know, this idea of leadership, and we think of leadership as leading people, but it's also just leading yourself, right? You have to fully get this for yourself. And I think that's the big takeaway. And maybe we talked a little bit about this before we started talking. It's like, I want to make sure that for those of you guys listening, that this is relevant. Like, we all are leading ourselves first and foremost.
Yeah. I think we have to demystify leadership a little bit, because I've been working with leaders since really at the beginning of my journey, working with people who in our cultural standards look like they've checked all the boxes to call themselves a leader. You know, they have a C-level title or a VP, or they're an owner of their own business.
It's sort of intimidating. Well, they're a leader in leadership
roles. Not a leader.
Roles.
Not everyone's a leader. But I, like you, say everyone is an artist. I believe we all have the ability, maybe not the desire, but maybe that's because somebody didn't tell us, that we are in fact leaders of our own lives. Each one of us is a leader in our own right. We are born as, I think, an amazingly powerful soul, each one of us, who's here to create a thing. I think at the end of the day, we're all creators. That is the essence of who we are.
Absolutely.
And if you're a creator, you're a leader, because you're saying, this is my journey, my path. You've always said, find your way as you go. Like, each one of us is on our own path in life.
Right.
And if that isn't the definition of a leader, I don't know what is. It's like, I lead in my own house as a mother. I was single parenting for ages, and I was the leader of that household. I impacted the culture of our home. I designed it with my kids, you know, and I lead a culture in the way that I am with my friends and my family, and the footprint that I leave on this planet. It's mine, you know? And I think it's easier for some people to say, oh no, you know, the way the world is and all the things around me are not up to me. It's happening to me, you know? It's easy to give away power. And I think now more than ever, with the world where it is, we all need to take our power. We need to feel sovereign and free to make impact. And I think you and I both stand for that. Comes from our own unique self-expression, you know, and becoming ourselves, just truly. Like I always say, if you walk into the coffee shop in the morning and you're standing in line and you are cool with yourself, you know, like at some level of your being, you are right with yourself. And that doesn't mean we're perfect or that we've got everything figured out. No way. But if you just have accepted that you have this beautiful life in your hands and you got some level of joy in that, you are leading and impacting the whole entire room.
No, absolutely.
You've left a trace.
Absolutely.
You've actually shown the world what's possible, in that, you know what, the news is ridiculous right now, but I'm here to have a really good Tuesday.
Right. Even so, we can make art. You can take 20 minutes, and it's like, I get so much feedback, you know, which always surprised me. You know, for me, this leadership, or discovering this, that I had some control over the outcomes of my life, that I could change things, that happened many years ago, coming out of a really hard patch and, you know, losing everything and all the train wreck of all kinds of parts of my life. And it was, I think I was more surprised than anybody. And I'm still kind of amazed with it, but it was literally just sharing the miracle of, oh my God, even though these things aren't going right, I can still find some beauty, some relief in this. And I just started sharing that. And that's what Art2Life became. It was about possibility. And it wasn't be me, it was, this works for me, it'll work for you. And and totally, like, this is available. This art thing's available. Everyone's an artist. Everyone, this is available. And I know you do this for the leaders you work with, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think a good leader is a giver, somebody who contributes to the whole, you know? And it starts within. You can't give what you don't have. The leaders that I work with are in the trenches. They're in the fire. They're doing the work, the inner work, to be able to not only hold themselves and their families, but all kinds of beings, to contribute, to give back. And that is every artist listening. Your contribution of something that you took outside of your own, from your soul, and brought it outside to be seen and witnessed, to uplift. You know, this makes me think of the story when we did Morocco. It was my first retreat with you. And I do not paint. Everyone who's met me so far in the community knows that I am now learning to paint. I'm learning to do my art, but I was so brand new to it. And was so like, oh my God, this is hard. And I didn't expect what it was gonna bring up and have me see myself in the ways that you have said it does. And we were at the airport and I had all my 12 by 12s.
Oh yeah.
I had a bunch in the suitcase. We had a huge suitcase full of them. And I was not attached to them. I was like, you know, I'm no anything great yet, but I brought them home. And you had me literally autograph them, sign them with my name, and give them to people at the airport.
Well, we had too many. We couldn't carry them. So you had to unload a couple.
Yeah, our bag was way too heavy. And I was horrified. I was like, I'm not gonna, and the faces, like, they were just very colorful. They were hanging them up behind the baggage check-in.
So you guys, it was, we had to unload this, and Cherie was just going to throw them in the garbage. I'm like, well, no, just check this out. And we gave them to the flight people, and it was like Christmas time.
They were like, I'm going to say, I knew you when, and you just made our place look so beautiful. It was so colorful, and the boss came over, and everybody was rallying. And I thought, oh my God, even what I would call bad art, which is, there's no such thing, but being a little critical version of myself, still did so much to light up so many, you know? And I think that's what we're both here for, is having people know the impact that they can cause, and that they do cause, and directing that towards a better world. You know, the women that I work with right now, I feel we are all going through such a transformation. You know, every time we check in, it's a whole lot of me too, oh my God, same, that we are reckoning with what it's been like to not feel like leaders, to struggle as a marginalized group who do not get paid the same amount as our male counterparts, who are working harder, are so many of us women of color really in tears saying, this is just the hardest work of my life, and what it takes to stand in leadership from that place, to use our voices. And it's just this morning, all of us sitting in a circle going, I don't know what we do without each other, because it's the hardest work of our lives to stand in leadership. And I think it's the greatest creative endeavor of all time. So that's why it feels very relevant to talk about with our artists and creatives in this community. Because it takes so much out of the box thinking, so much digging deep, so much looking at the self, so much overcoming everything that I learned painting with you in Morocco. Like knowing that I am more than I think I am, you know, that I am not just my ego or my fears or the little parts that want me to play safe and not confront, not make anybody feel like I'm too much, all those voices that would have us never become the most powerful version of ourselves. And it looks different for everyone. You know?
And it's like an up-leveling of being free. You want to be more and more and more yourself, because and what are those areas where it's feeling constricted and tight, right? So like in art, we kind of narrow the focus. It's like, well, I'm not very good with color. But if you pull the lens further back, and we start working on the whole person, whether it's family relationships, friend relationships, intimacy, financial, business, the self, the body, all those areas need or can hold you back and get in the way of you being free. And that's why so interesting, that's where I come into this, because I've learned that however somebody feels, if the more free they can feel, the more authentic their expression will be.
Yeah.
Right, because they're not worrying about being too much, or try and help someone make great art if they don't think they can. It's awful. I mean, the art, it's just constricted, and so this is what brought me into this. Yeah. The way of helping somebody do powerful art as quick as possible is to get them right with themselves.
Yeah.
It's the fast path. If you can feel this way, if you're truly feeling free in yourself, then the expression is going to feel that way. And then it will be authentic, then it will be different, and then it will stand out. And that's what creates the value. And in the art world, that's massive. But the reason it has value is because people experience this and they want it. They see themselves in it, right? Leaders, it's not that you're standing in front of people saying, come on. You're part of a group. And you talk about this like leading from the side almost. It's like we're all doing this. You're just contributing to it. And somehow this group, all these people are moving forward, but you're actually impacting that. But it's not, you're not teaching people to follow you.
That's a traditional patriarchal view of what leadership is.
And that's why I don't like the word leadership.
I know, and I just mentioned women have such an interesting path right now, but I think men do too, because I think that structure has the men that I've worked with really feel like they have to know everything. Every answer has to be dialed. They can't look vulnerable or weak. You can't be in the unknown. It's like the pressure cooker that is that model is unsustainable. And I think what we're experiencing, all of us who are alive at this precious moment, is a new way. What at the core of what you do and why you're such a great leader is you bring out the best in others. You go in and you stoke their fire and you help them bring out the best of them, bring out the beauty, get through the muck, go through the hard parts.
Well, I can see it, and I know you have this too.
I know.
I literally, it's not like I can see, this is the only thing that there's some piece of me that has some little skill or talent or whatever, because I don't really believe in talent, but I can see things early. Like I could always look at I can see it. I can just see in someone, even when they can't.
I know.
And I know you do the same thing, totally.
I know.
It's not a made up thing.
That's a great leader. And I can say every single person listening to this podcast, if they're in this community, does that every single day by encouraging somebody else, their child or their friend. I've seen it in the comments in every single video you so generously put out there, or all the comments in the course when people are together, is rallying each other, encouraging each other on, standing right. Yes, you can do it. Like that, I just want anyone who takes the time to hear this to know you are a leader. You have that.
Right.
And that you are a creator because of it. They go hand in hand.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's why
creativity is led. Yes,
it is. Yeah. It's like in any endeavor, you're trying to figure out a way for people to keep on keeping on.
Right.
It takes. Well, let me try this angle. Let me try that angle. Yeah. What if I tell it to you this way? What if I use these different words? What if?
Yeah.
And it just keeps coming back to it, and believing in someone. That's really it.
Yeah.
And then what I know of why it's so hard for leaders, and why many a person would probably say, oh no, not me, I don't want to have that responsibility, is it can be lonely. It can be that, you feel like you see things that others don't. Mm-hmm. You feel a great mission or a vision that others don't, that, you know, like I know you and I talk about this all the time, we feel a responsibility. Like we're never going to retire.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right,
like
right.
this is our gift. This is what we love.
Yeah.
You know, and so in that, community is so vital. That you mentioned about leading from the side is being a participant leader.
Yeah.
Is the way that I do it.
Participant leader is great.
Where I'm in it with you, and I have communities that I curate like you, that I am stoking the collective wisdom. I am bringing out the technology of a community, of a circle of people that is the ultimate leader now. You know, we're not about this sort of like
I've got
perfect
the right
person
way.
on a stage with the model and the framework and all
the sage
that.
on the stage. I
No
think
way.
Is what, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really each one of us standing up and being what we want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Creating that.
So what do you, because you work with so many leaders and, you know, you're in businesses, and what's the big, and then you work with, you know, all kinds of leaders, but what is the big, the sort of realization about them, or the challenges that are they different people, or they're just like the rest of us, or like what are they struggling with?
Every single thing that everyone listening is also struggling with. That's what I think is so important to know. Like you can on the books, or, you know, in the way that we would evaluate if someone is in the traditional sense of the world a leader or not, or the traditional sense of the word a leader or not. It's, you know, do they have the title? Do they have a team?
Oh, right.
Do they have, you know, these artifacts of roles and achievements and a big house and a car, whatever, like that you might associate with that title?
Yeah.
They are in it maybe just a couple steps ahead of the rest of us, but in it and all the way in it, meaning what do I require to be the best version of myself, to do a good job? You know, to show up to my role that I've taken to cause impact, you know? And I can think of one woman that I'm working with right now who, oh my God, she is so heart-driven. She grew up in India in a house full of 13 people in one bedroom, tiny little home, and one bathroom, and the most beautiful family. The most loving parents, like just ideal in all the ways, except that she saw where she lived that there was a lot of poverty. And she's working for a big financial company with all of these traditional thinkers saying, I'm here to put money in little girls' pockets. And what she's had to face to be able to every single day stand up to a very traditional structure of finance in a financial world and fight for this inclusive, beautiful vision for the world has her daily question herself. I hear imposter syndrome all the time, which I could talk for days on. And that is just one of the things that so many of us have to deal with, you know, and feeling like we can't thrive in a system that wasn't really built for us, you know? But the self-doubt, the balance, you know, how can I enjoy my life, be a great mom, be a great lover, also cause impact, all the things that would have anybody listening also look at their day and the parts of us that we have to deal with, the doubt and the fear that we have to deal with every day, the real anxieties, and balance that with everything that we're trying to achieve. It's just, I think, a really beautiful thing to remember that no matter what it looks like, you know, on the surface, somebody on social media looks like they've got it all together. We're all growing and trying to just arrive at a place, I think, of peace with ourselves.
Yeah, it's like we have to overcome ourselves in
Very
order to
much.
do, and I mean, I think our soul pulls into things that, okay, you know, I've talked to so many people, and it's like they've chosen art, and it's like they want to do this art thing for some reason, and it's gonna be a big challenge because the parents said they weren't creative, or but I think the soul just wants to grow us, and so it gives us these paths that will do that, but you literally have to overcome yourself in order to do that. You have to guide yourself, you have to lead yourself, and this is something, this idea of being helped is probably the biggest learning that I have come across for myself in the last 20 years. The thing that I didn't have until 30. I mean, I did everything. I didn't ask for help. I didn't really think there was a lot of value in that. I went to college and I had good teachers in art school and everything, but I just felt I really put a lot of value in just trying hard and working hard and learning from experience. But, oh my God, like having people who are further ahead of you, or having people that understand different aspects, that's how it's done. Like, you can't overcome yourself in all the areas of your life. I mean, how do you, I'm getting help with, my nutrition. Like I was a vegetarian forever, but like to actually talk to someone, no, you know what? Your body needs this. What's that called? And, there's no way I can learn all that, And I think that's leadership too. It's like, give yourself the resources to grow and become who you need to be to do the things you need to do.
Oh, I love, you're just highlighting the thing that I say every single day. The more you want to give, the more you need.
Yeah.
And I think
that's
that
great.
If anyone on this podcast listening, is trying to give beauty, give art to the world, that is a giant endeavor. I know it now more than ever, having gotten in there with you and seeing what it calls, that you have to dig so deep to do something that's authentic and truly expressing yourself. It's so scary and so crazy hard and really wildly fun, but like also hard. And that means, what do you need in order to go there?
Yeah.
We're on a wild journey to the bottom of the ocean inside of us to reclaim our fire so that we can really be a force of nature. That's what I think we all are. We all have this medicine, this gift, this essence that we can share with the world. It's our fingerprint,
Yeah.
And when we're 90, we want to look back on it and say, we did it. We didn't hold back too much. We really let it rip.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do that, how to go that journey without a village of amazing humans around me.
I mean, you start making art, and I know you guys listening, if you start this thing and you are going to encounter yourself because you've got this idea, you're optimistic, you're hopeful, you might have seen something that you love, and then you try it. And you're going to make some things that are pretty, like, you're not going to be happy. That's a problem. That's going to be a thing that you have to, so you got to learn, like, I'm not the thing I just made, even though I want to do this. How do you keep going? You're going to have and it's so visual. It's like, I remember the first time and I'm still horrible at this, painting likenesses. It's the worst, or life drawing, because what a human being looks like, and then you try and draw them, and it's like, oh my God, what kind of alien is this? And everyone's looking at your page, and then the model comes over and looks at it, and you're like, oh my God, But that's an important skill set, to be able to be playful in it. And it's like, okay, the vision is I want to learn this, and I'm not going to take myself out. I'm not going to take myself out because someone doesn't like my work on Instagram. I'm not going to, and this is how you do it. And that's a lot of what we're teaching, is just getting people in this art, creativity, self-expression to be free.
That's right.
And free means not beating yourself up.
Yeah, well, yeah. Loving yourself in all the ways, just nailing being human every day. It is the ultimate art.
Yeah.
The art of becoming, that's what we're all in.
Yeah.
And I think leaders have got to embrace their own artistry, to make art of it. When I first started coaching, I was such a baby. I was in my 20s, and
Wow.
my teachers were like, Cherie, you're so cute. You're trying to plan out all your coaching calls in advance. I'd have like, I'd make them send me their weekly plan, and I'd know I had 90 clients. I mean, I had like so many clients every week, and I'd have their little weekly plan, and I'd know exactly what their challenges were and what we were celebrating and what they wanted out of the call. And I would spend time in advance thinking about all the things I was going to tell them, which for anyone who's ever been a coach or in a thing, like you cannot do that. You can't plan for what is going to emerge.
Right.
They'll get on the call and something will have happened 15 minutes ago, and it's completely the opposite of your whole plan. And it's like I planned for my birth. I had a whole birth plan for both my kids. Both of them went completely sideways. Not one thing on the birth plan went right, you know?
Birth plan.
So I know, it's cute. And they were like, Cherie, this is art. At some point, you're just going to realize this is an art. And you're going to relax, and you're going to become the artist, and you're going to show up, and you're going to dance with it, and you're going to listen, and it's going to emerge. And it's been everything that I've studied this whole time, working with anyone. It's like you're in the dance. You know, I look at it like surfing. Like I'm riding the waves. I can't plan for the freaking wave. All I can know is that I'm doing my best to be skilled and to make it a great ride and to have fun.
And that you're the best version of yourself when that wave comes.
To be a clear and neutral channel. To channel it and to show up and, like, you know, any great martial artist, you know, be soft. Have all my senses on. You know, that's why we're doing this retreat together, right?
And we forgot to mention that. So the reason this leadership topic has come up so much is that we are co-teaching a leadership retreat in Portugal this October, and we'll have a link in the show notes to it. It is obviously not for everyone. It's very different, a little different than just the art creativity workshops that we do. We're doing several of those as well. But this is what's brought this topic up. And what I want to say about this, which I think is so interesting and something that I work for in my art, but this leadership, the idea of balance, right? And this is kind of what we're going to be doing. This is going to be a small group. It's very one-on-one, but it's really about balancing, helping people balance all the aspects of their life. And this is how I describe finishing art. You know, getting those loud conversations working, getting the color working, and it's an art. There's no science to it, but I know. So can you talk about this balance thing? You know, like, because when it's balanced, like, for example, early on, when my mom was more fiery and alive, she was kind of the bane of my existence, and it really held me back. I thought about it all the time. It was a stressor, especially around the holidays. She had borderline personality disorder, and it certainly impacted me as a teenager massively. It was like a wet cloth on my being. And I had a great time. I mean, I had a wonderful life, but it was, I don't know, 20% not great, because of this one aspect of this one person, this family, this challenge I had. Had I learned, it took forever, but, you know, if I could have focused on that to unweight that so other things could be more equal, so everything was more equal. I mean, we all have our challenges with our family members, but when one thing in your life is just holding you back, it just impacts everything else. And I'm just curious. So I think of it as, the art of balancing, you know?
Yeah, it is. I think that's the number one complaint, or number two, next to loneliness in leadership roles, because you are taking on more. You're saying, not only am I going to be in my own experience, making and doing and exploring for my own delight, but I'm going to give it back out, and I'm going to help others with it. I'm going to be a model or an example, and try to do something that changes the world, you know, in a way. And I think that means there's more on the plate, you know? People tend to...
You got to get it for yourself first, going, and then that enables you to bring others into your world in order to enroll them in whatever you're doing, whatever that business is, or even your art practice. If you want to get help with that and get your art out in the world, you got to be able to share with that person what's exciting to you, and you know, all of that. Yeah.
Well, and if you think about you as a kid, when you bring up the example of trying to balance your mom, and that there's this kind of weight in your life, the artistry really comes in to how you move with all of this, like water. You know? Are you skilled in your self-awareness and in your communication and in your energy and in your knowledge of humans and how they move, psychology, what drives them, you know?
And boundaries.
There's so much to this. Very much, because there's something we've been talking about a lot in community and circles and the people that we're in and around. So much of leadership is relationship. I mean, you're dealing with all of these beautiful souls one-on-one and in group and bringing it out of them constantly. So I think it's developing the ability to not only be balanced within yourself, like you've said, you know, regulated in your own nervous system, aware of your own self, your triggers, your wounds, the things that fill you and deplete you. But then,
that's great.
You know,
fill you and deplete you. Absolutely.
Which is a lot of what we're working on in Portugal. We're taking people away from the daily life. Like, I would have wanted to take you away as a kid to give you time away from the distractions, time away from the triggers, from all the demands, to really learn these things, to get regulated again in yourself, to say, what am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to? How am I doing this
Super hard to do, obviously. I mean, this is
when
the
you're in
root
it.
of all trauma with your young person and family. It's not like you get a vacation from whatever parent or teacher, you're just kind of stuck.
Well, if we were privileged enough to get the help back in those days, we weren't really. Now more, I feel like it's more accessible that we have this, you know, so many resources online, ways that we can figure out, but we need to be co-regulated by the people that we're around. You know, and your mom wasn't able to do that for you in all the ways. And now I feel like this is the miracle of life, is you wanted to know how. There was a longing in you. You tried your best. I know the stories about how amazing you were to your mom and there for her in all the ways. And yet your path has ultimately shown you how. Through leading beautiful humans across the globe, through being in relationships. I mean, certainly our work has taught us so much about how to bring out the best in each other and how to really create a healthy culture in our family so that we can do this work.
And to do it in a way that is sustainable and allows for everybody to thrive.
To create the conditions for all to succeed. You know, this is the focus for the retreat too, is to help people get back in connection with who they truly are. Like, how do you see yourself? Like, a lot of people listening are like, I'm not an artist and I'm not a leader, right? I know I struggled with the identity of artist for a while, but I really, at the end of the day, I believe we all are artists. We're all creators. I just didn't paint real well. But I also believe that the greatest drive in us is to be congruent with who we think we are. So if all of your beautiful people believe that they're artists because you keep telling them, they're going to do arty things. They're going to wake up and they're not going to question going to the studio, and they're going to make art of their relationships and their lives.
You know, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long. But before people are just kind of, they've got that fire burning and then they just keep going. You know, they don't need somebody reminding them. They just need proof. They just need to see it. They need to feel it.
But then that next piece is, once you believe it and you're in it, you have to create the conditions to live it.
You got to keep creating the
I've
conditions.
heard you, I've heard you all the time say you got a bigger studio and you've got to create the space and talk to your family about why this is so important. And this is the same thing in all aspects of life. It's, what are the conditions that will have me ultimately be that and live freely, do that, be able to plumb my own depths. Like, we recently remodeled part of our house.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was longer than we thought. And it was kind of chaotic, as everyone who's ever been through it knows.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the optimal conditions to be in this like really channeled, peaceful place to do my work always.
Right.
Because there were people coming and going all the time.
Contractors and
You know, and that's just a dumb, simple example. But like, think about all the traumatic experiences that had us be in conditions that were not optimal for our art, for our becoming.
Hey, we're going to do a quick breakaway for a minute to tell you about something very cool that is coming up for you from Art2Life. It's called the Breadcrumbs Challenge. It happens on September 9th and 10th, and it's totally free. The Breadcrumbs Challenge is a fabulous art-making community-wide event that is 100% online. It'll help you rediscover what brings you alive. It recalibrates you to the kind of art only you can make. It's all about getting your heart, mind, and soul all heading in one direction. And when that happens, your art and life get really, really good. Anyway, it's going to be so fantastic, but you have to pre-enroll by going to breadcrumbschallenge.com. We also have links in the show notes. So go and get all signed up. It's going to be so, so good. All right, let's get back to our show. This discernment, which is what it is, being able to choose the right color, the right feeling of something, the right table that you work at, the right relationships, the right workouts, the right foods, what feels good to you. You know, this is the whole thing. You know, it's that discernment is a skill, and I think one of the fastest ways to learn it is through art.
Very much.
Yeah.
And then you know what that opens up? That opens up in your body and your heart. You know, the things that you love and like that you teach, and then the voice, because the voice and being able to say yes or no, that doesn't work for me.
Yes.
No,
yes.
I don't want that.
Yes.
That's where it gets hairy.
Yes, totally that's where it gets hairy.
And making decisions as a leader to say, you can do this, you can do better, or let me give you feedback, that's hard, or let me say no to something over here so I can say yes to something over here. This is, whoa.
Or doing something as you're learning, as an artist, a creative, and putting something out there, going into terrain that you're not used to going into, because you're learning, you're trying something, and there's all the stakeholders there. Everyone's kind of wants you to kind of stay the same like them, right? Sometimes there's you have to kind of leave a little bit, and there's resistance. I mean, it's the scariest thing. I mean, you talk about this a lot. You know, one of the things I know that drives you crazy is when people say, oh my God, you're too much.
Oh.
I mean, it's even hard for me to say that to you because it goes right to your, it's the worst.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that can make you feel like this big.
Yeah, well, so you're titrating yourself to please. And everybody listening, I know you can relate in some way, shape, or form around a moment in time when, somebody's reaction to you made you feel like you had to change.
Yeah.
To stay in relationship, to stay safe, ultimately.
Yeah.
Like I was working today with several of my sirens are from immigrant parents, and they have these really strong teachings in their culture to blend in.
Of course.
Stay in the back, keep it cool, don't rock the boat. What a life. Yeah. That's the exact opposite of what we want for anybody, what I would want for anyone. And to overcome that, to be brave enough, to have the courage to break those chains, to say, it stops with me. I can't live that way anymore. I will not suffer the abuse.
It's super hard.
I will not dial myself down.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because there are countless people in our lives who don't want that from us, who don't want to see that. And we'll have a thing to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're wired biologically to survive. So when somebody's displeased with us, I know for me, it makes me think I'm unsafe. I'm going to get eaten by a tiger. Like my body is on red alert to threats in the field. And I have to do that work to overcome it. And I just know the shortest distance from here to there, to have somebody feel safe enough to do the work that they're here to do, to be self-expressed, to cause an impact, is the safety that a community provides, like being together with other people who are also, like Brene Brown talks about it, in the arena.
Yeah.
I'm only going to listen to people who are in the arena with me.
Yeah. Like
Doing
choose
brave
the people
stuff.
around you. It's so important that, you know, to have other artists in your life or people that are trying to make something or create something. Just essential.
Otherwise, the loneliness, like you
Yeah.
feel like nobody gets you.
Yeah.
And
it's
that
the
you're not
worst.
okay. And we are all deeply okay.
Yeah.
Really, one of my teachers used to say, she'd hold her hands like this. And if you're not seeing the video, it's like your palm is facing you and then the other palm is behind that facing you. And she'd run them up and down going, you are equal to everything that comes to you in life. Everything. So any person with a title, any person who calls himself a leader, any person who's an artist, anything, any struggle, any trauma, any challenge, you know, that comes to you, you're equal to it. And you have everything inside you to handle it.
Yeah.
That's knowing yourself as a creative human who can figure out a way around no matter what, you know?
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I started teaching and working with people and very quickly realized that it didn't matter who was sitting in the room, anybody could make art, anybody. And that was not, I mean, it's still, there's a lot of societal kind of carryover. People think they have to be talented or there's some magic involved, you know. But what are some strategies, you know, because I mean, some strategies I have for this change, for doing something, whether it's you're going to tell your family or some people you love that you're going to start making art, or, you know, like I always, if I'm going to, like, let's get a mountain bike and I've never done it before, I will rent a bike. Like, I won't go out. I don't want anyone to know, you know, I want to, like, yeah, it's just a little side thing. I kind of keep it on the low down, you know, and then it's like, yeah, I just really enjoy it. I just downplay, which is ridiculous, but
that's your British nature.
No, yeah, it's like, oh yeah, it's just the rubbish, you know. But what are some ways, because it's gonna come, people are gonna point at you and say, what? You're like in finance and you're talking on, now you're gonna do this. Who do you think you are to, like, coach people, or who, really, you think anybody can just go out and do art? You know what I mean? Like, how do you, what do you say? You know, how do you
so many things, because there's those people outside of us who say, who do you think you are? But the worst one is the one inside that says, who do you think you are?
Well,
the voice
it's
inside,
triggered, right?
That's like,
yeah.
Oh my God, you're gonna start dancing again? You know, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
So I think, you know, I had this great spiritual teacher who said to me a million years ago, the greatest prayer you could ever make is to pray for more longing. And I was like, what? Like, it felt to me like so many traditions say longing and desire is going to lead you down the wrong path, or longing hurts, right? Because you're kind of in this moment of like, I don't have the thing. And yet, I think that's what you follow. Everybody who's ever thought, oh God, it would be so fun to paint, or oh God, it would be so incredible to think that I could do a thing. I literally talked to a new client yesterday who, oh my God, it makes me want to cry. She said, I've been thinking a lot about you since our first call, and I had some ideas. She's in an awful job. She doesn't like her job. She's miserable. She's poorly paid. And yet she's like, you know, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. I know I've got to do something bigger. I know I'm made of something more. And I said to her, okay, so since we talked on this last call, I go, what'd you think of? And she goes, well, I sat down with a friend and I wrote out some of my ideas. And she goes, I don't know, you know, and she's already in the disbelief.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't know that they're that great. They're kind of out there, you know, like she's disclaiming already. And I said, lady, I want you to sell me on these. I want you to, like, tell me about these ideas as if you're pitching me that they're the greatest ideas you've ever had.
Wow.
And it wrecked her. She immediately started to cry. And she was like, I have to do these. Like, I have to make this happen. And you could just feel it. Like the longing was breaking her into a million tiny pieces. And who would have known? She couldn't even pitch me. She went to her knees. And I think it's recognizing that there is something that you long for, that you've probably longed for since you were a kid.
But haven't admitted to yourself or opened yourself up to it, or didn't think it was possible, or didn't think you were worthy.
1,000%.
It's a worth.
Oh, yeah. Oh, she tells me, I'm just a girl who, all the reasons, no way. And my parents are looking at me sideways, like, get a job that pays. I mean, truly, and they say, statistically, you only need one person to believe in you.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. It could be a great teacher, a parent, a friend, a coach.
Yeah.
I think you and I do that for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's my mission in this life, is just to reflect back the possibility for each one of us. You didn't get a longing out of nowhere. It's there for a reason. It's actually, one of my teachers would say, when you have a desire that gets really intense, and it's more like this one woman I'm telling you about, it's so ratcheted up, volume 20, it's because it's right around the corner.
Oh, yes, of course.
It gets really loud.
It gets shaky and noisy. It's just like making art when it's just, you hate it. Yeah. You hate it. And it's driving you to do something that's more authentic, more gutsy, change it, cover it with black paint, and then all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
You're going.
I mean, and I think, a great leader, back to that topic, anybody who is trustworthy is somebody who's really been through it.
Yeah.
And so why I tell stories all the time is I think when you can hear your story of how you overcame, I have countless stories of other people.
Yeah, it just makes it like,
who overcome.
Come on, we can do this. Yeah.
No, there is always a way, and that's my belief. So it's kind of like, I always say to people, I will hold your belief until you got it. And there's kind of a shortcut to just start taking action. So when I asked her to just compare notes with a friend, a trusted friend, somebody who's not going to criticize you and tell you, oh my God, who do you think you are?
Right.
But a safe person, you know, then you can start to get the fires burning, you know, turn the pilot light on a little bit, and then you got to get yourself around other people. I always, and I don't know that anybody told me to do this, but put myself shoulder to shoulder with other people who were doing what I wanted to do.
No, absolutely.
Because it made me feel like, oh, I'm sitting in a room full of people who do a thing. That must make me a person who does a thing.
Well, that's what we do in the Creative Visionary Program.
Exactly.
We're all in it. All those people have self-selected from all over the world, and they're all committed. And it's amazing. This is what happens in retreats. The same thing. Everyone's there for a reason, and it's powerful, the shifts that happen because people are together. Yeah.
Okay, and I'll also give one other strategy that I think is not one that people would really expect. Whenever I go to work with somebody, I ask these questions, and one of them is, I always wish I had more time for ...
Ah, that's so good.
That thing that you always wish you had more time for is a secret business life strategy.
Yes.
Because that thing that you're putting off, like one of my clients said, I had trashy novels. And trashy TV. Like, what a guilty little pleasure.
Yes, right.
She had so much shame around it. And I was like, lady, I want you to indulge yourself in whatever trashy reading and trashy TV you need this week. And then I want you to come back and tell me what it did for you. I've done this in many a different thing. Fill in the blank. It doesn't matter what your thing is. It's totally yours and no right or wrong. She came back and she was like, oh my God, my husband noticed, my kids aren't fighting. Oh, I got 3 new clients. Like, she's like, I don't know what happened to me, but I'm like full. And I said, yes, because pleasure is our greatest strategy in life. And it's not what the world would tell us. We live in a very hard work harder, more faster, better.
Yeah, right.
And yet, when you're in your pleasure and what fills you up, you're stoking your fire, you're in your energy.
It's flow.
And then you're in overflow.
Yes.
Not even flow, overflow.
Yeah.
When
Giving,
you have leftovers to give.
Right. And that's the whole secret.
There.
That's the whole thing. You can give so much more. And when you get this right, when you're fulfilled in yourself, then you get extra. And that's, I think, to circle back around, is like there's the possibility to impact others.
Yeah.
And call it leadership or not, you have extra. You could stop and help somebody because you feel great and you have extra time.
It's falling out your pores and it's streaming out your eyes, and you can't help it.
Yeah.
It's felt.
No, so
good. We just got off a 7-day Joe Dispenza quantum physics extravaganza.
Yes.
And we know that field is felt. You can feel it when somebody walks into a room and they just have space, you know?
Yeah. It's amazing because it's all possible. That's what I love. It's not, it's all possible, and it can be done in a way, the whole thing can be done in a way that's congruent, that's easy, that's fun, that's spacious.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And for the people who are really facing some stuff, it does not look easy.
Yeah.
Because that's also very real. It's still possible if you want it.
Yeah.
And that's where the desire is your greatest friend.
Yeah.
The desire will point the way. The vision that you have for this company, I always come to, what is the vision? Like when I got divorced and I was staring at providing for my kids in the most expensive place on the planet, trying to launch my company at the same time, it was like, oh, do I just not launch my company, not fulfill my purpose, have a day job so that I can do the basics? That's a real choice a lot of people have to make. I refused. I said, I've got to do this, and ultimately it's going to pay off and I will somehow get through. It was keeping my eye on that, like there is no plan B, and asking for help, like you said, but even like from a deeply spiritual place, like believing that I was going to be provided for, that I was not going to be left high and dry if I did this great work, that somehow the resources would always come.
And the resources come in moving towards the desire, not that you get to, this all gets fixed. I mean, everyone's got massive challenges, but just holding the thread of what you desire will give you more energy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
And allowing yourself to feel it.
To feel it,
like,
right.
Literally feel it. Like, I started this business and I was not profitable for years. And I was just like riding around town going, oh my God, I'm like living the dream, because I couldn't believe that I got to do what I love, you know, like I imagine.
Who cares if it's not?
So many artists feel when they're painting or they get that big studio and it's like, oh, it's happening, you know? And you stay with that joy, that, holy cow, I'm the luckiest person on the planet. And it magnetizes real stuff. Like it really does make things happen. It draws the right people to you. It draws, the people who resonate, like we were at your show, and people who've been collecting your work forever from all over the country.
No, it's incredible.
And they're just like so into it because they feel you, you know?
No, it's amazing. And I think it's, I think that what I love about it is that this is available for everybody. You know, that what we're talking about is just basic, like this desire, holding that thread and moving towards it. It just starts opening. And that's what I saw in the early days. That's why I called it Art2Life, because it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it makes sense if someone's, my window is art, or it was, right? It was rather narrow, but they started focusing on art. Well, what do you want to make? Well, that's a desire. And they started focusing on that. And just that alone, just that one piece of their life, are you getting closer to what do you want to make? What are the colors? What are the things? It starts this snowball effect. It's kind of amazing. And then you have this artifact of your efforts, of this one feels more like me than this one. And then I did this one, and then I did this one. And it's like suddenly you have momentum. Suddenly you're on the path. So cool. I want to wrap this up here because, oh my God, of course, time goes so quickly. But this was not meant to be a plug for the Art of Leadership retreat. It's more around the information that is available to everybody. But for those of you who are interested in it, you can check the show notes. What's cool about it, and why I'm sort of hitting it again, is that it's an application process, and really it's more of a self-evaluation. And do you want to just talk about that a little? Because I think just go do that anyway. If this is obviously, this is, it's not right for everyone necessarily, but I found, because I kind of filled it out for myself, because it allows you to rate from 1 to 10 different areas of your life. And there's 9 I think there's 9 or 10 areas of your life. And oh my God, like, that's powerful information.
Yeah.
You're never asked, like, well, how are you
doing?
Yeah, how are you doing? How's your finances doing? How's your relationships doing? How do you do on the friend front? How are you doing physically? How are you doing, in your business? Like, it was so cool. And this is, by the way, this is your sort of evaluation that you've used with your clients that we're kind of using for the.
Well, I call it like it's a gift in and of itself, the process. And I think anyone, who feels drawn should go out and check it out, because it's a process of catching up to who you've become.
Yes, totally.
I don't want it to feel like a scorecard or a rating or like a thing that's performative. It's, no, just check in with your heart and your body and say, where am I at? How's life? And it gives you just a little post check on where you need more attention, where you might be craving more support.
Yeah.
Or for things to change.
Yeah.
And with no judgment. Yeah. It's like, this is where I am.
And you've got to get, you got to get the resources, you got to get the information. There's all these different aspects.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot here.
Yeah. Well, and then there's really good questions that I feel like also tune you back into yourself. I think we're so externally motivated. We're moving around in the world with all the distractions and all the noise, and it's all outward. And how often do we really get time to sit and just reflect on ourselves and what we desire? And so that's what this is for. And it's only for us to just be able to look at who's drawn so that we can create this unreal experience for this special group. Yeah. And so it's to tell us where you are, but to tell you where you are. And I think that those categories of life, they say when we pay attention to all of them, that's when we actually can taste a feeling of balance.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
They're never, ever going to be all at a 10.
No.
Otherwise, I don't know what that would mean. I think we're all in a perpetual state of growth. There's no arrival point in life. We're forever working on things. So you want to have, this sense that all of the areas that are categorically the most essential are, in your heart and your mind and your awareness.
Yeah.
And that you're doing things for yourself in those areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like friends for me, even though I have a gajillion online people, when I get really busy during launches, and certainly years ago, much more, that was an area that I just was too busy, and I've really changed that. But like, I had to balance that. I wasn't happy. I couldn't do this Art2Life as well as I can now because I wasn't taking time to go and see the people I really wanted to be around. I was just like, I'll see you next week. And it just like weeks would turn to months, and suddenly I'm like disconnected from people. So friends, it was just such it's such an easy one, but it was something that I too saw when I kind of started evaluating all the aspects of my life. And then like, well, how do you fit it in? Well, how do you do that? Who does this really well? Who can run, who can manage their time management. There's so many ways, but it is truly balance. It's learning the balance, just like balancing a painting,
Yeah, it is. And it's forever moving.
Yeah.
I think that's why art is such a special practice.
Yeah.
Because you can see the balance, as you're making a painting. I've learned so much from you, and seeing the composition of something is such a great metaphor for your life.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of holding it all.
This was so great, and I've learned more just in this conversation. So this is so fun to collaborate with you, and I hope you guys listening that this was helpful. And for those of you who are interested in the Art of Leadership Retreat, we have some spaces still available. Go check it out. You can check out that application anyway, because I think it could be useful. You guys, thanks so much for being here, and thank you for being here as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Art2Life podcast episode. Okay, bye everyone.